trap is full of locusts, but they seem weak and unhealthy. A few lie on their backs with their legs twitching. Still, no phasmid. There it is again, that spectral smell haunting this industrial harbor. And it smells like heavy fuel oil, mostly, because it's an industrial harbor. Years of turmoil, of hopes and dreams, ground beneath the inexorable tides of capital. Undoubtedly. And the scent is coming from that railing over there. Yes, now's your chance to establish contact. But be easy about it. Communists have been known to charge when startled.
Hola, wandering man. How can I help you? What's that, boya?
Now's your chance. Remember, communists are notoriously skittish, so it's best to insinuate your way in.
Have you tried a butcher shop? Don't think I've ever met a Kras personally. Then again, I've never been to Grad.
Okay, maybe it's time to abandon the subtle approach.
Ah, now I see. Can't say I'm surprised. You seem to take your communism seriously. Not a bad thing, mind you. It's good for a man to take time to think about the whole socio-political world picture.
Oh, he certainly likes to take his time with things, especially when politics are at issue.
So you've given up copying and now you're hunting comunistas. Care to say why? A fellow plains roamer in search of greater understanding. A classic story. I wish I could help. Unfortunately, I don't know many comunistas. Maybe, maybe not. Either way, I'm not institutional. A man's got to blaze his own trail, in my book.
Blazing his own trail, being his own man. Not exactly your typical communist spiel. Okay, so maybe he's not exactly a communist, but there's definitely some communistic residue about him.
Ah, but you know, I did meet a genuine ideologo a few months ago. Perhaps he is your guy. Didn't say anything about his name. Wasn't this sort of encounter where names matter? You know, a guy with a theory. Someone who likes to pit his theory against other theories in deadly theory combat. It was late one night as I was leaving the harbor. He was waiting on the corner in a bright white jacket. Classic Sarameritzian style. He asked me for a light. We shared cigarettes. Then he asked me if I ever thought about getting into some of the extra physical branches of communism. No idea. I took it to mean he was asking me to join some sort of underground cell. A very old school organizing technique. The sort of thing comunistas used to do before the revolution. The same thing I always tell people who try to press some claim on me. I said, Every boyadero rides alone. I couldn't tell you. Once I declined his offer, we finished our cigarettes and he disappeared back into the night. Just before he melted into the shadows, he turned to me and said, "Remember Dobrava and Abadanais." And then he was gone. I don't know. Guess not everyone remembers. Been wondering about that myself. Some comunista inside talk could be. Not meant for the wider public. They love that kind of thing. You'd have to ask someone who knows the ideologo personally.
Not to interfere in your personal errand, but it might have something to do with that passphrase Cindy mentioned earlier.
The lieutenant nods.
Just in time, the faithful partner arrives with the key that turns the lock. You two make a good pair. I salute you, boyas, and wish you good fortune on this grand ideological quest.
The man whispers a jaunty tune. A coastal breeze ruffles his hair.
Los Ardis? They're an independent militant group. A bit too high-strung, but it comes with the responsibility. They're sort of like you. Preserve the rule of law and all that. Except it's Everard's law. But really, they're just like you. Yeah, the janitor who gave me the key to his apartment said the guy's a bit of an asshole. Like I said before, I don't know much about this weasel, but the bossman said he's a real piece of work. Thanks for helping out, friend.
Just an ordinary wall. Nothing to see here. Yeah, why? It's a wall. An ordinary wall.
Why must we stop to look at this wall every time we pass by? We have business to attend to.
Just an ordinary wall. Nothing to see here. Because you see it, finally. This wall is sublime. Look at it. The shadows, the colors. All the other walls on all the other houses must make a pilgrimage in adoration of this, the uncontested pinnacle of wallcraft, color peeled from the very face of God. O Wall Father.
Huh?
He sounds tired of it all. You already have the heavy fuel oil to use as paint. It's red. And Cindy the Skull has a paintbrush. This is on.
Sure. If you must.
Hello again, officers. Have you come to admire my mural? What for? Well, if it's for art, but what kind of art are we talking about? Then you have time to find your own fucking brush. There, Piggy. I guess art just isn't really you. 'Cause you suck in life and in everything.
They do say the painter always paints his own portrait.
That's pretty fucked up. Even for you, Piggo. Stop quivering like jello. Then you won't get fucked. You're a real sad sack. You know that? Go ahead then. Art it up. Just try not to hurt yourself. And no self-portraits. Sure, anytime. Us shit artists have to help one another. Besides, I was out of fuel oil anyway.
The right idea is not coming to her. It's excruciating. You know what you've got in that fuel canister you scavenged from your Kanema? Red-dyed heavy fuel oil, paint and a brush. You're ready to do this. The paintbrush in your hand is like a loaded revolver. What will it be, Desperado? Quite a few things come to mind. You've spoken. The wall will now silently repeat the message for a decade or so, until the sea air degrades the paint, adding another layer of detritus to the city.
Very poetic. Real poetry. Should we return to our murder investigation? I hear there's a really bad one we are supposed to solve.
woman is still hunched over the railing, her head swaying to the music, her eyes looking at nothing in particular.
Huh? What is it? What do you want? And what is that?
Great. He asked the Pines rep about the bail, and now he's talking to everyone about it. Fine then. Just try not to black out again, and don't contemplate. We don't have time for that. Exactly what I didn't want you to do. Ma'am, my partner wanted to know if you work in pale transport.
No offense. But your partner? Seems like a bit of an idiot.
Republica, a filterless cigarette from Misk.
Neither is spelled transportation. Life is transitory. Like Gabriel Buenguerro in Pergunte a Poeira. You're the opposite of me, then. I remember everything, even things I never knew. The smell of liquor on Gabriel's lips after the shoot, in the motor park. The roses on the day of Franco Negro's coronation, on the grand stairs of Ryle. The smoke from the Fowling piece when Dolores Day was shot. The look on her face, like an orgasm. The wound in her chest, my hand in my father's hand. Except I never had a father, and I never shot her innocent Dolores Day. Heroic doses, Hervé. Heroic. Thought insertion? Dithering? The Grad Catalan Magistral? It's more than dangerous. It's sad. But at first I had to make a living. Now, when you've seen it all go away like that, rolling off like the sea, and then come back to this, what are we doing here? For thousands of years, Gabriel. It doesn't have to be like this. We can just give up. We can just become a vapor. Like looking into the ocean at night, in the dark. You cannot see it, but you know it's there. And it's big, bigger than anything. Bigger than all the other things combined. Nothing. Until it starts. When you are deep enough. Then, for me, it's like autumn. Dark, gray, and orange. The orange of street lights and the color of streets and electric light. It smells like autumn too. It smells terrible.
Nostalgia. Cooped up in the cabin, shaking. Terrible nostalgia. For yourself. For humans. It's too much to bear. She loves it.
In the belly of an airship, behind the sail windows. So you don't look straight into it. It's not advised to look into it. No, the same one, a roller. They all are nowadays. Special wheels for connecting to the floor of the hold.
The wheels all small and round, multi-axle trailers.
Yes.
No elaboration.
They say there is a point, one that I have not crossed. In the Pale, super deep. If you stray too far, of course, on the U41A, or in Lomonosov's land, where every step you take is one step further from home, no matter the direction. It's a point you cannot come back from. Your mind becomes so radiant with the past, there is a flip. Instead of writing, it erases memory, nearing some kind of indescribable finale. Maybe you've been down the motorway south. It's a story as lone horsemen tell. Lone horsemen, Jerife, not Pale drivers. Way beyond the established Pale that's lit by radio frequencies, where it goes silent and dark, and the process begins, erasure, kilometer by kilometer, in any direction. The motorway south is a road you cannot come back from. No one knows what's at the end. I've only glimpsed the beginning. I've only felt it in the distance, when I was a child rowing on the lake. Josiana.
There is nothing more to do now. She's far away. She is receding in the clutches of some indescribable scattered emotion. The child, descending.
You've fried both your brains enough for today, detective. Let's get some air. This one's far gone.
Give me a moment. What? No. Nobody tells me anything.
Would she understand if they did?
If it ain't my business, I'll keep my nose out of it. Well, I think we'd all be better off if people kept their noses to themselves.
As you approach the metal grill, you can hear several voices having what appears to be an animated discussion. This must be it. Beyond this door lies the beating heart of radical communism in Martinaise. Somehow, the night air softens the smell of trash and sea brine. As the breeze pulls through the canvas like a shuttle through a loom, you catch a hint of something unexpected, something earthy, warm, and burnt. The acrid smell of failure. No, that's just slightly burnt coffee, a smell you would recognize anywhere.
Just look at these pigs sniffing about after hours. Go ahead and arrest me, officer. I swear I'll go peacefully.
The metal grill is cool to the touch. You notice the lieutenant is looking uncustomarily anxious. His posture is rigid. His right hand hovers near the zipper of his jacket. He wants so badly to draw his armistice, but he also doesn't want to draw it.
Oh, I'm fine. I was practically born to infiltrate underground communist cells. Which is just to say, we should be prepared for any eventuality.
You can make out at least two separate voices. Two voices, both male, approximately early 20s.
Careful with those now. I have it. It's going to work. I can feel it.
The clang of metal reverberates all along the scaffolding. The voices coming from the other side fall silent.
Who's there? Is that you, Maurice? Come crawling back already. Get out of here, traitor. That's right. Take your minuscule bourgeois turners and get lost.
Face it, sire. Your little subterfuge isn't leading anywhere. For a moment, silence.
What's the passphrase?
There's no response. You begin to wonder whether they've slipped out some back way.
Alright. The key's taped to the back of the door frame. Just make sure you put it back when you're done, or we'll all be locked out. And do watch the concrete. It just kind of falls away, in places.
Charmant. After you, detective.
Have fun at your underground meeting, pig. Hope it's a blast.
The two young men are either oblivious to or ignoring your entrance. Their attentions are fixed on whatever it is they're stacking in the middle of the floor. Matchboxes, it appears.
I think it's holding, Alexis.
It is. It's holding.
It's definitely not holding. Those matchboxes are stacked so haphazardly, it's like they want them to collapse.
Careful, careful. Damn, hardly any difference. You two, you are late.
They should know the meeting starts at 10 p.m. sharp.
Just a moment. Could this be the former owner of a certain jacket you acquired recently? Don't let them see you flustered, sire. Play along.
Esteban, isn't that your jacket?
What a coincidence. You two have the same jacket. What are the odds? Based on the prevalence of white Sarah-Maritzian suits in Martinez, extremely low.
It certainly looks like my jacket, Alexis. Where did you get that, gendarme? Yeah, I'm sure you did. That's real Sarah Maritzian twill. Only old Sarah Maritzian communists and drug smugglers wear those anymore.
He is neither of those, of course. He is simply a poor student putting on airs. Also, he doesn't have the shoulders to fill out such a jacket.
See, Uli? It's just like Mazov wrote. How does it go, gang?
Those committed to the rights of property are those most apt to violate them.
Just a minute. Steban, Ulixis, why do those names ring the faintest of bells? Probably because they're the real names of Nazteb and Exilus, the authors of that so-called essay about Tip-Top Tournay you read. You should get to the bottom of this when you have the chance.
I assumed it was Maurice who broke into my room to play a trick on me. I didn't think I'd actually been raided by the RCM. Absolutely not. You have to keep it. Can you imagine the look on Morris's face when he finds out the RCM has been kicking my door down?
He'll shit himself, positively.
And now they've shown up in force to break up our meeting.
Something tells me these young men are not very experienced with law enforcement.
The RCM wants to join us?
My partner, of course, is acting in a strictly personal capacity, not as an official representative of the RCM.
Interesting. Does that mean you've done the reading?
Uh-oh. No one said anything about reading. You'll just have to wing this one.
No, detective. The only reading I've been doing is right here. I have not had time to seek out pretentious communist book clubs, nor have I done their reading.
It doesn't sound like they've done the reading, Steban.
Well, this is getting awkward. I'm not sure what you're expecting to find here then.
Maybe they can explain themselves.
In the most generous sense, I would say we're cultivating revolutionary consciousness.
Yes, that's probably the best way to describe it.
But more specifically, we are running a reading group. The most rigorous and theoretically advanced materialist reading group in Martinez.
Comrade Steban is a great discussion leader, one of the best at the university.
It's obvious they take this group of theirs extremely seriously. Whatever you do, don't compare it to a common book club.
That's our whole thing. The world is so shallow, all noise and repetition. We're interested in genuinely radical critique.
Precisely. We are not interested in senseless parroting. We like to read critically.
Within the contours of Mazovian historical materialism, of course.
Huh. As though you can call that pablum teaching.
One thing you learn quickly at university is that you're not going to find a real education in any lecture hall or discussion seminar.
We are post-attendance, basically.
Exactly. The only worthwhile part of the so-called École Normale de Reversol is the library. That's where we've made our greatest critical strides. We study all the foundational texts of Mazovian theory, of course. Just last week we finished the second volume of Puncher and Watman's Innocence of Capital.
Truly extraordinary.
And before that we spent 6 weeks on State and Plasm.
For some reason, the word plasm catches in your ear like a piece of old wax. Uh-oh. You can feel your attention span rapidly deteriorating.
We've also read Wertmüller's The Megastructure of History, and before that, Real and Reality.
Communist theorists love puns, in case that wasn't obvious.
Hablars une paix infernale.
The original Fisdale translation, not that watered-down revisionist garbage.
These two deserve the Order of Honor for bullshitting. There's no way they've actually read all this stuff.
Obviously.
But, of course, our special emphasis is on the theories of Ignaz Nilsson and his followers, especially the inframaterialists.
One of Krasmazov's closest associates, Ignaz Nilsson, was a leading political and military figure in the anti-centennial revolution. Today, Nilsson's reputation has waned in most parts of the developed world, with the exception of the People's Republic of Samara, SRV, where he is recognized as a founding father. His political philosophy is a variant of Mazovianism, called Nilssonist Mazovianism.
Only because certain moralists and their ideological lapdogs pretend to object to his more maximalist tactics, as though they've never committed any so-called war crimes.
The young man grimaces. It seems he's less than 100% comfortable with war crimes.
He also happens to be the greatest communist theorist after Mazov himself. It was Nilsson who first postulated the existence of ideological plasm, which forms the basis of inframaterialist theory.
Those words again. You've got to find out what this inframaterialist stuff is all about. Whatever it is, one thing's perfectly clear. These young students have a much deeper understanding of communism than you do. You could learn a thing or two from them. If you can convince them you're one of them. The young man sighs. His companion looks about furtively.
Clinching? No. We're not an operational cell.
We think of ourselves as more of an intellectual vanguard.
No, we're an independent organization. We acknowledge and respect the union's efforts, but our interests are more theoretical than Mr. Clare's.
He speaks the truth.
To be clear, communism is not an official suspect in this investigation, because it's not a person, you see.
Seems unlikely from a strictly inframaterialist perspective.
Comrade Ulix is right. The amount of plasm required to strike down an ideological enemy outright is enormous. We're talking second-level effects, at a minimum.
Or even third.
What are these levels they're talking about? This doesn't sound like any communism you've encountered before.
In any case, it's not like the SRV has established a party line on the subject of lynchings in Martinaise.
Though historically speaking, the SRV has supported direct action against right-wing paramilitary squads, especially when they are doing the Indo-Tribe's dirty work.
Good point. So as a provisional matter, I can say we support it.
Are they being sarcastic? You feel like you're caught in some elaborate joke labyrinth, but it's impossible to see your way through.
That's easy. Crime is simply the inevitable expression of the injustice and incoherence embedded within capitalism itself.
Delivered with the smug assurance of a schoolboy reciting a maxim he's committed to memory.
It's a symptom, in other words, not a cause.
His companion can barely suppress a yawn.
No, unfortunately, the communards were hunted down and killed nearly to a man. All that's left of them are bones and old rifles.
His companion's eyes widen as you hold up the ancient weapon. He's practically itching to stick that thing in someone's face and pull the trigger.
Yes, like that one. I wonder how many of these are still lying around in cellars or sealed up behind the masonry. Can I hold it? It's heavier than I was expecting.
The attitude of a priest bearing one of the holy relics of his faith. Though it is long out of service, its power is evident to him. When he's finished, he returns the rifle to you with a nod of appreciation.
What do you mean? This is the reading group. We're in something of a rebuilding phase.
Some of our former comrades didn't have the ideological fortitude our work demands.
Intellectual attrition is maybe the best way to describe it. Felix said he couldn't keep up with the reading on top of his classwork. And Susanna wanted to read text other than Mazovian theory. Like novels, if you can believe it.
Imagine the audacity of wanting to read a novel in a reading group.
Oh, sure. But you can always join a book club if that's what you're into. We've tried recruiting new members, but unfortunately the current intellectual climate is pretty hostile to inframaterialist thought. These days, if you're on the left, the ascendant schools are the Godwaldians and their iconoclasts.
Don't forget about Maurice and the turnips.
Right. Then there was the whole turnip debacle. They're the most depressing school of communism. They love writing long books with a patina of Mazovian theory to cover up their cheap psychologizing.
A gang of cheap psychologists and intellectual midgets. Typical Gottwalders, in other words.
It's okay for Uli to say that because his dad is from Gottwald. The Gottwald school believe that intellectuals as a class are incapable of sparking revolutionary change. So all they can do is critique capitalism from inside itself.
In other words, they have lost faith in their own relevance.
That's why they spend all their time smoking cigarettes and writing long works of criticism that make you want to commit suicide. It is miserable. That's probably why they're always committing suicide. You see, the Gottwald school look like communists. They talk like communists. But scratch the patina and you'll see beneath that they're just depressed liberals who've read too many books. For starters, they love talking about beans. That's right. Iconoclasts are obsessed with beans. They love thinking about beans. They love counting beans. But most of all, they love building models to predict how many beans there'll be in the future.
Nota bene, iconoclast is an extra pejorative form of the already pejorative name Mazovian economists, a moderate school of Mazovianism which advocates the gradual transition to communism through carefully managed economic modernization rather than violent social revolution.
They're by far the most bean-centric school of communism.
If only. They've got all the beans accounted for in their asset sheets, their quarterly budgets, their future projections. But for some reason, there are never enough beans to go around. So we've just got to cut our bean rations in half.
And next thing you know, there are budget cuts, so now we've got to cut the bean rations in half again. You see, iconoclasts claim to be communists, but in reality they're just liberals with hard-ons for spreadsheets. Of course not. The only people who actually call themselves liberals are mouth-foaming reactionaries.
Basically indistinguishable from fascists. You'd need an X-ray machine to tell the difference.
Cindy is... how to describe her role?
Something of an ideological auxiliary, perhaps.
Yes, that's exactly how I would put it. And naturally, we support her radical counter-liberal aesthetics.
But she refuses to submit an essay, so we can't call her a member of the group per se.
That doesn't stop her from using the room for studio space, of course. It's an unfortunate story. You see, our ex-comrade Maurice is something of an economist.
He's studying macro and microeconomics.
Well, a real intellectual, it sounds like.
Right. So a few weeks ago we were discussing the extra physical capabilities of the revolutionary state, and Maurice said... what were his exact words, Ulex's?
It was unbelievable. He said, turnips don't care if they are grown by communists, moralists, or Welkin. They grow just the same.
Basically, he was rejecting the whole foundation of inframaterialist theory.
What is this inframaterialist business they keep blathering about? You've never heard of anything like it.
Simply that under suitably revolutionary conditions, crop yields naturally increase relative to non-revolutionary crops, which Morris somehow has the gall to deny.
Susanna said that he has been hanging out with some non-communists lately.
For us, the question boiled down to, if you don't even accept the basic ideas of Nielsen and inframaterialist theory, why are you in the reading group? Well, it wasn't so much that he was expelled.
He just quit coming. We haven't seen him around for weeks.
Go ahead.
The young man frowns at the little pile of boxes on the floor.
Nothing, just messing around until the meeting started.
They're watching those matchboxes awfully intently for two guys who are just messing around. It's almost as though they were trying to create the most unstable structure they could, with predictable results.
I don't think so. Unless you've been hanging around the cultural studies faculty at the École Normale de Révachol.
Perhaps he subscribes to La Fumée.
You've read our article.
That I did not expect.
The energy in the room has shifted ever so slightly in your favor. They're afraid they've somehow embarrassed themselves in front of you.
Well, don't keep us on tenterhooks. What did you think of the essay?
Time to meet these two on the intellectual battlefield. Why don't you show off those highly developed critical faculties of yours?
Well, of course that's just an initial foray into the subject. We're hoping to return to it for a more substantial treatment next term. In any case, I'm glad our piece found its audience. That's always the hope with these things, you know. We typically only accept new members once per semester. There's this whole process with essays and presentations on assigned topics. But given that we have some extra seating at the moment, I guess we could be convinced to expedite an application or two.
Stepan, you can't be serious. For these gendarmes?
I am serious. As materialists, we've got to adapt to conditions as they are. Besides, he'll still need to pass the interview portion of the entrance process. Assuming he's even still interested, that is.
Is it getting warm in here? There seems to be a little pool of sweat forming in the depression of your lower back. Oh, totally. A superstar breaking out in a cold sweat. No, you're terrible at them. The thought of everyone looking at you, judging you, makes you want to heave, frankly. Excellent work. Now there's a dark handprint on the back of your shirt. Everyone will be able to see the evidence of your overactive sweat glands. Let's be frank, they're probably way smarter than you. You bet they've read more books than you can even name. Of course, if you're nervous, it wouldn't hurt to read another book or two. The hardest part will just be working up the nerve to ask without soiling yourself.
Everything all right, gendarme? You look a little green about the gills. Sure, we're here most every night. Maybe we'll catch you again.
Sleep well, gendarme.
The gendarme returns. What do you need? Yeah, it's hers. She just sort of moved it all in a few months ago.
She said if she's going to make truly radical art, she needs a suitably radical workspace.
And I don't think she could afford rent at an actual studio. Oh, sure. It's definitely interesting, I would say.
Interesting? Isn't that just binoclard for, I don't have a real opinion? His companion's eyes widen with interest. He has a cold smile. If this is what the Union man meant by theory combat, you've just scored a decisive blow.
Come on. It's not that I don't have anything to say about Cindy's art. It's more that I'm still working out the details. It's a complex question. You've got to take your time with it. I guess you could call her latest stuff a sort of counter-bourgeoisie calligraphy. She's got a real taste for radical slogans.
It's too bad she hasn't developed the theoretical foundation to do truly radical work.
I think she'll get there, though. She's still looking for a subject equal to her ambitions. The deal, at a fundamental level,
I guess you could call it the shattered bones of a dream crushed by capital.
A feeble and hopelessly mixed metaphor.
That's really good, Steban. You should save that for an essay.
Thanks, Uli. When the idea is sound, the words just sort of flow.
Yes, now keep developing the idea.
That could be. It would explain some of the more ornate detailing. But we're speaking in world historical terms here. What his place represents, not what it merely was.
His friend yawns, evidently bored by literal reality.
The deal? At a fundamental level, I guess you could call it the shattered bones of a dream crushed by capital.
A feeble and hopelessly mixed metaphor.
That's really good, Steban. You should save that for an essay.
Thanks, Uli. When the idea is sound, the words just sort of flow.
Yes, now keep developing the idea.
Leave it to the gendarme to enforce bourgeois stylistic values.
Besides, he's just a first draft. Go ahead.
Hello again, officers. Have you come to admire my mural?